and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a video testing out these ink glitter markers. Someone in one of my recent videos commented asking me to do a review on these in a Coco book specifically. So I actually ordered a new Coco book because I've been using Girl Moments so much. I wanted to get a new one to test this out. And I also got the set of ink glitter markers, which I didn't know that glitter markers were a thing. So I was actually really excited about this, and I'm happy to do a review for you. So let's go ahead and open it. I haven't done anything except remove the stickers on it because I wanted it to be an unboxing, first time I've seen it. So we're gonna swatch them and then I'm gonna color in a page. The person that commented suggested doing it over the top of markers. So I went ahead and colored in a page with similar colors, and then I'm gonna fill it in with the glitter markers. But let's go ahead and open it. I'm really excited. Wow. Okay, it says, add sparkle to your creative projects. Use on paper, cardboard, wood, and other porous surfaces. Shake, push, and draw. Okay, these are beautiful. I'm actually so excited about this. Let me bend this back. And then I will swatch all of them. Okay. Looks like each marker has those instructions too. So I'm gonna shake. And I have multiple sheets here, so it shouldn't bleed, but let me maybe put, just in case, I'm gonna stick a book underneath it. All right. And then I'm gonna put on one sheet here. Hopefully you can see this. I was trying to hold it sideways so you can see it, but I might need to do it straight up and down. Okay, so it's starting to come through that tip. I'm gonna do it just a little bit more. All right. That is beautiful. Okay. Can you see that well? This is so satisfying. I'm so glad someone mentioned this because, like I said, I did not even know these existed. Let me see, do they have color names? I'm not sure, but this is in the order of the box. So I'm doing the light pink, and then I'm gonna do the darker pink here. This is fascinating to me. I'm just gonna repeat that for each marker. All right, here are the final swatches. For comparison, this is my Color It glitter pens. And I just want to show you next to them the thickness and how the glitter shows up. So this is, of course, yellow, so I'm gonna put it next to here so you can kind of see the difference. So these are obviously not the same shade of yellow, but you can see the thickness comparison. And then I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but this right here has a good amount of streaks, whereas this is just smooth, like my alcohol markers almost. No streaks, it's just, it looks like it was printed like that. So I'm really, really excited to test these out on a piece of paper because they fill up the page more, which is what I love about alcohol markers, is it goes faster than colored pencils or pens. But also, you know, I could color this in and try to take that streak away. Let me see if I can do that. So with small circular motions, I was able to conceal it a little bit, but it also did make the color darker, more like this shade, and it didn't fully get away the streaks. So just a couple things to note, but I'm really, really excited about these. So thank you so much for recommending them because like I said, I didn't even know they existed, and I'm really excited to go ahead and put them to the test on a sheet of paper, on a coloring page. Let me show you what they look like. This one, the yellow, you can kind of see the ink on the inside there with the bubbles. So I just wanted to show you that. And then each one has the brand, glitter marker, then instructions, and then recap when not in use. But pretty plain, and the outside is glittery. Let me see if the cap is stackable. It is, that's a plus. So I really, really am happy with these. And I want to say this was a set of 18 for $14 on Amazon. So here they all are. This is the book that I purchased to test them out in. It's Little Corner by Coco. I have been eyeing this book for a while. I think it is so adorable. And I went ahead and I saw it pop up in my wish page, and I thought this is perfect for these markers. So I just completed this yard sale page, and I, of course, did a very colorful palette here because I wanted to test out each marker at least once. And I didn't swatch them prior to filming this because I wanted to open them blindly with you all. So I just went off these little dots here and hoping that they are a pretty close match. But I think given how opaque they are, that it won't really matter what color I put underneath anyway. But we'll see. So I'm going to keep this handy next to me and make some little touches here and there with them. I'm not sure how much yet I'll fill with them and how much I'll leave with the alcohol markers, but I'm going to kind of talk you through as I'm doing it, and we will see how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and put my bleed sheet in here. I'm going to flip it around. My page protector sheet that I typically use, that I showed you guys, is currently in another book on another page that I'm doing. So I just went ahead for the time being and put regular paper in here. And speaking of bleeding, let's see how well these did. Okay, so they don't bleed through, obviously. This is just picking up from where I dotted them on the other page, but they don't fully bleed through. You can see them, of course, but I don't really see any spot that really bled through. Let's check the page where I dotted them. So on this page, I was really holding them in the same spot a couple of times, and it still looks like it didn't really go through the paper completely. So they're pretty good as far as that goes. I still would do a single-sided page, but you might be okay to not put a bleed sheet behind them. Of course, I'm still going to, because just in case. But I do think that they bleed less than an alcohol marker for sure. Okay, I just folded it up to make me a little cheat sheet here. I will note that, and you'll have to, I'm sorry about my Band-Aid here, but you will have some glitter that picks up on your fingers. So that's just something to note. We'll see as I'm coloring if it gets, anywhere all over the page. And I'm trying to see if it's really stuck on there. It wipes off pretty good. So I think a brief hand washing would help with that. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's falling out a bunch or anything like that. All right, I'm going to start really bold with this yellow. And I think I'm going to do, looking at my options for my yellows on my page, I'm thinking I'm going to do the lighter yellow for this because I was kind of picturing this to be a lantern. I'm not actually sure what that is, but it looks like one of those lanterns that you release into the sky. So I'm thinking the lighter yellow for that one, and then I'm thinking this more of a mustardy yellow for the lamp. I will say that these colors look pretty different from the dots on the front. So for instance, I kind of based my coloring thinking that this is two different browns, like a really dark, deep brown, almost black, and then a more standard brown. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I was going for the different browns that are in here, and like the lampshade base and the top was like a really deep brown. But I'm gonna have to think through this. So, because really, it doesn't have a true brown. That's kind of an orange. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna add glitter where it feels right until I feel like I should stop. And I think for the time being, I'm gonna leave the cardboard box as is, and probably the dresser as well, just to kind of give it some contrast. But I'm gonna otherwise try to use a good amount of, the other thing that's different is greens. This also showed that there were 3 greens, and really this is again kind of like another shade of yellow, and we only really have 1 true green. So I'm gonna have to really think through this. Okay, I'm gonna start with what I know I'm gonna do and kind of fill it in from there. So I'm gonna start with this mustardy yellow, which just feels wrong because this just, even the outside looks brown, but it's kind of a golden color. So let's see here. Be interested to see if this goes over the black lines. There is more streaks than when I did it on that page. And I'm pressing pretty firmly and trying to make it, like down here you can see I circled and it's a little more thicker, and that was making more streaks. Let me see if I can kind of even it out. Oh, now it's tearing up the page. Oh, I'm not used to that with alcohol markers. Okay, good to note. Let me wipe off the tip here. That makes sense if these are water-based. Okay. So I need to keep it, maybe I shouldn't have done the biggest thing on the page first. Okay, let me get something to kind of dab right here and see what I can do to help with that. Okay, I don't think that's too bad. Let me see, I just don't want that part to be too dark compared to the other parts of the lampshade. Looks like that concealed it pretty well. I think all things considered, it won't be that noticeable once the whole picture's done. I'm just gonna finish out this lampshade here. So it looks like the glitter picks up over the black, but the color doesn't. It's like sheer glitter. So I probably, once I'm done, will end up going over the whole thing with a fine liner to make the lines pop again. Next, I think this is actually a pretty good match for this shirt, so I'm definitely gonna do that real quick. Okay, that was the only one I missed. Sorry about that. Now it's out of order. I must have just missed that one. Okay, well, let's go back to this lighter shade. It's a pretty, almost exact color with, that's sugarcane is the color. I think it's a GY7. It's the color of this shirt, and it matches this perfect. Okay, I just put a lot more ink on here to see the difference. So this top of the shirt is going to be really inky, so we'll see. Okay. So it definitely made the page a little bit more obviously wet under there, under that part of the shirt. There you go, I kind of flattened it out. And it does look like this is billed, so that part of the shirt's darker. So I would imagine once it dries, I could go over and make any part darker. But I like that as is. Now I'm gonna use this lighter shade of blue to color this in. I think with any coloring tool, there's a little bit of a learning curve to figure it out, to figure out what works for you and what helps you get the most out of that utensil, whether it be colored pencils, markers, pens. And I think these are no exception. I think it will have a little bit of a learning curve, but I definitely could see the use in having these. This is a pretty exact match too, which is satisfying. This is, the marker I used is Current by Ohuhu. And I did this scarf and this bear's bow in that color. I feel like my younger self would have loved these. And how did I not know these existed? I'm gonna do this brighter orange. There's two oranges here, but I'm gonna do the brighter one for the Frisbee because I have a Frisbee that is that bright orange. You can definitely see the marker through it. I can understand why they recommended doing that first, because this orange is showing up a lot darker than that is, of course. So it is pretty sheer. I mean, well, you can see through it, but when it's on its own, it doesn't appear to be sheer. There is the Frisbee. Now I'm going to use this dark blue here, right here. One thing I'm discovering is the closer the matches of the marker, the less noticeable the streaks are. And also the darker the color, the less noticeable the streaks are, I would say. Because this lighter color, you can see a lot easier in the yellow. But on the darker shades here, it's definitely less obvious, I feel like. Okay, so I think there's a balance to, when I did the stroke motions, it made streaks, but when I did the circles, it ripped into the paper. But with these smaller areas, I did kind of mini circles, but I just went over it once, and that seemed to be the sweet spot, where there's not, the streaks aren't obvious, but at the same time, it didn't rip the page. So that's just something that I'm maybe discovering, and I'll keep testing. I think that these would be really great to embellish with small hearts or stars, things like that here, or something you really want to make pop. But I'm not sure they're as good for something like this with big spaces and full coloring. I also don't know how long the ink lasts. So that's just something to think about. But yeah, I think that embellishing, like for instance, if I just did this flower with some glitter or the heart pendant on the lamp, if I just did a couple of things like that, I think it would make a little bit more of a stronger effect I would personally like that better than this, because I think that when you have it all over the page, it kind of takes away from the effect. Like, I think this is a really cool effect to have the sign glittery. I think that's really neat. But yeah, I think when you do the whole page, it kind of takes away from it a little bit, and it makes it a little bit busy. I'm also finding that with the side, when I use the side of the marker versus straight up and down, I think that is working better as well. I realized I hadn't used the dark pink, so I'm going ahead and putting that on here, and I'm just putting it over the lighter pink, and that seems to be going well. So you might be able to layer them some. And I just noticed there's a good amount of glitter here. Let me see. It's splatter from one of the markers. It just looks like, I don't know. I don't know how that happened. Let me think. I was coloring on this. Maybe, I don't know, when I was coloring something. No, because if I'm right-handed. I'm not sure how that happened. I'll have to go back and watch the footage, but maybe you can watch it too and figure out, so you can try to not do what I just did, because now that's really on there. Oh well. It is what it is. Maybe it's just the dust of the yard sale, these old products. It's stirring up the dust. That's what I'll tell myself. Okay, I think that's my page done. I've used every color at least once. They definitely look a lot different based on what color you have underneath it. So this one right here, for instance, looks like that. And on the paper, when I put it over Current by Ohuhu, it looks just like Current, but that is not quite the same as this. This is a little more orange in it, and this is a bit of a deeper plum color. So that's something to note. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go over real quick with my fine liner. But before I do that, here's how it looks just as is. But you can see how it goes over the black lines. And it's hard to see unless the light's hitting it just right. Like, I couldn't see that I didn't go over the line right there because of the angle that I was at. But you can really see when I'm looking through the camera here, you can really tell. Same thing with these aren't perfectly outlining. But that's everything. I left some of it flat just so that the glitter popped. Now let me go over it with a fine liner. Okay, so I outlined everything. And one thing to note, there you can see the glitter transfer really well because that doesn't have any glitter on it. But it looks like that brushes off okay. Glitter just kind of gets everywhere. But another thing to know is when you go over it with the fine liner, and I'm not sure it's even going to pick this up on camera, but it does make the black, it colors the glitter black, basically. It looks like, you can definitely see it here. I went over that with black, and it made those lines basically look like I colored them with the black glitter marker because the glitter shows through the black, if that makes sense. It's harder to tell on the camera, but it does cover it, but it just, like I said, it makes it look black glitter. Like this covered the green on these lines, but now it just looks black glittery. So something else to note. But yeah, these are definitely a little bit trickier than I was expecting after I was swatching them. But I think with practice and using them in the right scenarios, I think these will be a really fun addition to my collection. One other thing I wanted to do, so this is really bugging me because I meant to do this a dark blue and I accidentally just picked up the wrong marker. I wish they were labeled. But I want to see what happens if I go over it with the color I meant to do, if it looks more dark blue than purple. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah, that worked. So that's good to know if you did a wrong color or something. I'm sure it looks different than if I just did this color on its own. I think this was the color that I used on this beach ball, and it doesn't look super different. So that's pretty interesting. Okay. So I didn't really end up using the dark purple anywhere else other than this. And same thing with the red. The red and the purple didn't get much of a cameo here. But anyway, that is my finished page. Let me show you real quick from a top view. Here it is from a different angle. Let me go ahead and take this off. We can see how it bled. So it looks like just the yellow where I broke through the paper bled. Otherwise, it didn't really have any transfer. And you can see that on the back here that only really where I went through the paper did it transfer. So my final takeaways would be that you don't jump into a page that you really love with these first. I would definitely play around with them on a simple page like this with lots of elements that you can try out different things. I would test out doing them in big spaces and smaller spaces, circular motions and strokes, and see what works best for you. Because, yeah, I think that they are a really great accessory to have to my coloring collection, but I think that they just need a little bit of extra tender love and care when you're using them at first. I'm really glad I have these now to embellish my coloring pages and add a little bit of interest, and I can't wait to put them to use on other coloring pages that I have. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to know or want to know in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. I'll also link to these in the description if they seem like there's something that you would want to add to your collection. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that it inspired you and got you excited about your own coloring. So I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day.